Hello and welcome to Project 2. For this, we are creating an IIS server for file monitoring. So for this project, what we wanted to handle today is we wanted to set up a new standalone server that was going to be handling all our file monitoring and such. For this project, we wanted to create a new system with the following IP settings of 7 with our default gateway and DNS set up. Then joining it to the domain of class.local is what I did. From there, we wanted to also make sure that we enabled the IIS role. You could have done this through just setting up a normal standalone server or just going through our auto unattends file that we created in a previous class. I went the latter of creating the unattends and using that for this project. Next, what we want to do is we wanted to go over into disk management and just do some adjustments to our C drive. We want to take 50 gigabytes from that and move it over to a new file by shrinking that volume and creating the logs L drive. We want to set that up so that it would be directed to the inetpug logs log files section and would have a daily rollover using the local time. So we set that up for us. Next, what we wanted to do is we wanted to configure the HTTPER or ERR, big acronym, or the HTTP API logging. So we wanted to go in and set up that guy in the L inetpub logs. So I have a ton of these in here. So we wanted to go in and set up to tell it to direct the log file, log configuration registry that we grabbed from our thing, set that up in a registry editor. And then after that, tell it to directly send all the information into here. So as you can see, all the errors, we're getting a lot of errors from our Kali Linux device. And these are from future steps, but there they are. Next up, what we wanted to do is we wanted to just going off piece by piece here. So then we wanted to fire off our Kali Linux to run that Nikto scan, which should actually already be open. We just ran a Nikto scan, just firing off a bunch of requests, fired at our IIS server to try and get some information into our log files. So we get our signature and anomaly, signatures and such, everything headed off into our files just to make sure we have results to show that it works in our IIS server. As you can see, we showed part of it in here. We show that from there. Next up, what we wanted to accomplish was show our signature scan. So let me grab that in IIS. There is a lot of stuff in here. So one moment while I grab everything around. So as you can see, we have our signature scans from here showing what was getting targeted. So we had a bunch of GET requests on 7. That's this guy targeted from the Kali Linux, showing that Nikto scan was throwing us a few little curveballs. We could run it again to get more. If we were to run, next up, just trying to make sure I cover everything. We want to show our WS right here. Show again. Just getting all of our files in from our Kali Linux to show what it was doing. Bunch of requests and such from Nikto. And these all will be just that same thing of that Nikto scans. I've ran it a couple times. So it's just showing all the information from that guy. And so anomaly scan works. Okay. I'll just rifle through these instead of going through there. It's a little bit easier just to do that. So we also wanted to create a baseline for our projects. We have our baseline CSV. We create through running this script for the anomaly defense. In there for the file integrity check. We run this guy. We run this. We're going to cancel that. We don't want to run it. What it does is it compares the hash and shows in the inet pub www root new file was created. It just shows you that there was a new file, labels it, checking against the hash, just to show that a new file was created in that section. So next, the audit log, also showing our audit log for all of these guys of what our Kali Linux had been doing through the Nikto scan that we were running, and a Hydra scan as well, which I can show in here. When we fired up this, we also wanted to run our targeted attack through Skippy using the password list. If I started it, I'm not going to start it right this second, but setting up all of our settings to send out a Hydra attack, telling our IIS, going after it, and trying to crack passwords to see if we can get in. Getting all our anomaly scans from 130. It's going through all of its stuff. Our signature scan, running all of our scans to check everything out. It's just to make sure that we know what's going on our device. Let's see. What else needs to get covered? Showing also that we made edits to our IIS starter for a future setup, and just creating that new file, showing that new file that was started, and this being not this guy. Open with Notepad, I believe it was. Yes. Just changing. I changed this to an HTML. Normally HTML. Open with Notepad quick. As you can see, just making changes so that we ran one of our scans, it would show it. I am jumping around quite a bit just because there was so many different kinds of scans. So I do apologize on that. But just running all the different kinds of scans throughout anomaly defense, all 4 of them, showing that they're all here. Of again, this probably would have been much simpler just to show it all. So yes, and our signature scan right there. You might as well close all these guys out. Cool. So, and we'll close these 2. After we finished all of the many scans and such that we wanted to run for signatures, anomaly detection, and such, we want to set up RPD guard. For RPD guard, this is where we would have sent out this attack, and this would have been blocked while RPD guard was running. We'll just start it and show that it blocks the address right here, blocks the 130, blocked it right now. At exactly right now. So yes, it just blocked it, showing that it's not working. So that was set up and configured. I'm closing that. So I did jump ahead a little bit. I do apologize. There's a lot of things. We're just gonna stop it and just close these 2 guys. I believe finally after we got this. Oh, just a lot of stuff to cover. My apologies. We also wanted to make sure that we configured our IIS manager to have the IP address and domains configured, I believe, in this guy. I know we wanted to create this. Here we are. So yes, we wanted to just we wanted to add this to the IP addressing domain restrictions feature to our IIS server, just so we could block incoming attacks, and we want to make sure that we set it to 50, maximum request to 10,000 or 1,000 milliseconds, sorry. So set that up. We're running is only successful. Yes. So yes. So once we set that up, it would only block for a few seconds for the NICTO scan, and then it would start back up again. After setting all that up, I believe after we grab that guy, the final step would have been setting up Event Sentry, which was the longest and most strenuous process of the whole project, getting it to work. Finally being able to get it to work was kind of nice. So what we did for this is we used actually our mail server we created in a previous class to use Bob at class.local to send all our traffic there. We also set up NTFY just to test it out to make sure it's working. We even created a test filter for this to show the default actions of NTFY and default email. Excuse me. And if I go on to the email, I can open up Bob. And as you can see, we have a credential validation, error coming in from the Kali service telling us where it comes. Attempted to validate for credentials. On this would have been for that Skippy account with the thousands of passwords and such. So we ran. So I told it to send its test emails here. If we go to Nifty, NTFY, open. See, triggered right here. So yeah, this is when we ran our test just to make sure it was working. And we can also check in here just to see NTFY and see what it's set to, just to make sure you're looking at the right one. Yes. Okay. So yeah, we just set up a test just to make sure it's working. Caused a little bit of trouble earlier, but that's all right. We got it working, and that was fine. After that, let me open up the documentation for this guy and just make sure that we're running through this stuff as well and covering everything. So first up, what we want to do is we want to create our default email, which I showed very shortly ago. I was setting up to Bob. Then we wanted to go into the IIS 6 and create the IIS on the L drive, which should be under log files. Yeah. So we go into here. We wanted to create our IIS log on L drive and our HTTP ERR log on the L drive as well, telling it with its alerts and such. Setting up our settings to create this log path right here of the date, like month and such, telling it its inclusions being phpMyAdmin, telling it to exclude for a warning on log in the application event log. Also creating the HTTPR log and setting up what it wanted for its software version date and fields to include these. And then again, setting up our log path, I'm telling it to go to the application event log as a warning. And we can go into here and see all of our warnings and such would appear in here. There's been a few things, so it might be somewhat difficult to find these, but we told it to send all that device in here. So yes, there's been a few since we started this project, so it's going to be a little difficult to find some of them. You can see every little thing in here, but somewhere in here, if we searched it, I'm sure we could easily find it. I just don't want to spend the time searching for the logs. We know they're set to send into the application log file, which is totally fine, but we've told it where to go. Same with this. We also enabled this to be global. Let me just make sure we got all that guy. Figure that up. Serve self-managed. So next we wanted to go into our packages. And we wanted to find system health. With a lot of things open, it's going to be a little difficult. Find system health. Our file monitoring system with file monitoring. So yes, we wanted to tell it. We wanted to create this guy with these settings right here. Set it to a warning and such. Just double checking. There was a lot of things that needed to get handled. Telling it where to go into the inet.pubww root, and then wanted it to rescan once every minute. Default email. Select alerts. We wanted to also create an alert. We wanted to tell it to target the default email and then title it as inet pub www root file integrity alert, which I believe should be in here. Just having trouble remembering where that got sent. Event logs. Event sentry alerts. Here it is. So setting up this as well. Setting this as a warning with the following event IDs. Setting up as an include. And just making sure that everything is good on that. And then, of course, when we did this, this would have triggered for changing that 4 and such. So this would have triggered when we created that other device of being the 4, of changing these. This triggers off from that. So if we create another one, it would trigger another alert. But otherwise, that should have been everything excluding. We won't mess with that. The only thing I need to do left is just enable remote desktop on this guy. So let me go into remote desktop and show that it is on. Sure. And yes, as you can see, we have remote desktop on our other device. We can open up everything. We had a crash earlier, so we have a unhappy little square, and I just didn't want to mess with it to clear it out. Otherwise, that was everything. I know this device still needs to have VMware tools installed, but that was our project for this guy. We'll just disconnect and then call it a day on that. I hope that was everything that needs to be covered. If it wasn't, feel free to message me, and I will more than be willing to cover anything that feels like it needs more clarity or anything. Otherwise, thank you and have a good rest of your day.